My name is Mannix Gonzalez. This story is about my campus in the remote rural mountain community in Southern California. And it's alright if you've never heard of us. But it sucks. Not because of the students and the teachers, but because the conditions are just terrible to learn in. My high school experience was interesting to say the least. We've had E. coli in our water supply, rain comes through the roof and hits us in the head, the rock walls outside are crumbling. Our high school was just not built to handle these extreme weather conditions. And to be honest, this has just been going on for way too long, and something needs to be done. And it may be too late for me, but it's not too late for you and your family. No student should ever have to learn like I did. Please help me get this campus fixed for the next generation to come. This is the Mountain Empire Project.
The kids are kind of ashamed to go here.
How everything is very trashy. There's always something wrong with the school.
It all feels like it's crumbling. The rocks outside are falling down. Something's hitting you on accident.
The bathrooms actually have major leaks in them every time it rains. We put trash cans underneath them so it collects water.
Some of the doors don't close, sinks don't work.
I think that we are trying really hard to have pride in our school. You know, we can try to keep it clean and we can try to, put stuff on the walls or makes it look a little bit better. But ultimately, when you're walking out in the quad and you see holes in the walls, it's really hard to be proud of your school that you go to when it's kind of diminishing the way it is.
I think it's hard to ask the kids to have pride in a place they go if it's not a place that they don't think they are proud of. A lot of the stuff that has gotten worn down, that has maybe been covered up with Band-Aids over the years.
I can't fix the source of the problem, which really irks me because, I can't stand not fixing the source of the problem. It's just Band-Aids, right? And Band-Aids are never good.
My name is David Rios. I'm the principal at Mountain Empire High School. We're inviting people out to see it. Not only see the place itself, the physical, but also see our kids, because our kids look and act and feel just like any other kid anywhere else. Once I got here, I opened every door. I went in every closet. I went in every room and noticed a lot of things out of disrepair, and it concerned for the safety of my kids and the safety of my staff compared to the other schools I was at. There's an old saying, you put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. We are basically putting lipstick on a pig every single time we try to fix this place.
My name's Jacob Mann. I'm the Director of Facilities and Construction. I've been going to school here since I was in elementary school, so 95 is when I went to Camp Elementary, and then I graduated in 2008. We're managing, but we're short-staffed. It just takes a lot of manpower that we don't have because the sources and the money's not there to hire the staff that we need. We're such a large district geographically, but such a small district in the amount of population that we have. So it's very, very difficult to get the funding that's needed to pay for staff to cover 660 whatever square miles of groundskeeping.
This is my 9th year in the district. I'm in my 4th year as superintendent. But I also have a longer history in the district as a former student, dating all the way back to the 1970s, right? I was very engaged in school, so for me, it was a very positive experience. As far as the conditions of the facilities, it's 40 years of the conditions. The weather conditions up here are different. The wind, the different changing of the temperatures and the climate throughout the year. You got a summertime that can be 105 degrees on some days. You have a winter time where it can be 20 degrees, and you can have winds that are 90 miles per hour. Those things take a toll, especially in a district like ours that struggles with some financial obligations, especially given how wide-ranging this school district is. It's 660 square miles. To maintain the schools in all these far away places with minimal funding for maintenance and crew, it makes it challenging.
So where all the stones are, all the rocks, looks like bubble gum is what we used to say when I went to school. That paneling with the rock on it is also a waterproof layer. It's also the structural shear layer. So as the elements and wind and rain and snow beat up on that building, it's degrading all of that paneling. But it's all wood, and we're in a high fire area The shear value keeps the building standing up in high force of wind, right? So you take away that shear value, you have a risk of a building that's going to collapse or have issues, right?
The biggest challenge for the high school is that outside, oftentimes they call it the skin of the building, right? On the high school, there is no shear wall, so that T111 siding is right on the studs of the school, which means that it is structural in nature, right? So you have those footings and that shear wall issue make it so the state of California determined, and this is one of those things that's frustrating for me, is the state of California said, this building is not fixable, so it has to be replaced. Other challenges that happen is the state of California does not fund school construction.
The building's totaled. And we got to find a way to replace it. You have slab leaks, you got water coming up out of the floor. Because this building was done back in the 70s, asbestos was like the magic material back then. They thought it was great. They put it in everything from, drywall coverings to ceiling tiles to the mastic for flooring. And the problem is it's such a toxic chemical, it's causing health and safety standard issues.
The school needs a little bit more repairs. The buildings need more maintenance, and so do certain bathrooms and stuff like that.
The bathrooms, because those are in terrible condition. There's toilets missing, the sinks work half the time, and there's broken mirrors.
They literally have prison toilets.
We don't have the funds to replace shut down your bathroom, and do that. So prison toilet's going to go away. I will find you guys a better porcelain. But what was happening is the toilet kept breaking. It kept clogging.
Not having to worry about like the water fountain breaking and the whole water system breaking, and then not being able to use the bathroom.
Just the water's always getting shut off because of E. coli and a bunch of other things.
Water's its own category for me. We did have an E. coli, I think, 2 years ago. That can happen from many different things.
I mean, there's not a lot of places where you could just see cattle in the parking lot, so.
I mean, you got cattle that are surrounding our school, right? So a big rain comes through, the well's down here, and it's flushing all of this surface water on top of the well, and it has a place for entry. Now you have bacteria that you don't want in your well, in your drinking water. We have to do annual inspections on tanks. Every 5 years we have to empty the tanks, clean them, and then we're testing the water constantly for making sure that the water's clean for drinking.
We're writing our strategic plan. Well, one of the goals that got written originally was clean and reliable drinking water. And so we're working on this with the County Office of Education, and I had to stop the conversation. I said, do you see that we're putting that in writing in the United States of America, that a goal for a school district is clean and reliable drinking water? That is appalling. That's a Maslow thing. That's like a basic need. That's like the lowest level need that a human need. Like, you need water.
Heaters and air conditioning. I mean, some classrooms are super, super hot. I mean, it's hard to learn in a classroom where everyone's sweating and teacher's hot, and that's just a big distraction.
So every heating element that you have, heating, cooling, air conditioning element that you have over on the high school is a very rudimentary old system. It was, developed many years ago. If you guys say, oh, it's too cold, too hot, whatever, we have to physically go up and make adjustments for that.
I would love to have electricity back in the girls' locker room again, so I could plug in a heater for the kids that are so cold, or I run an extension cord from out here to run my computer and stuff.
There was all these lockers, right, and everything, but it's not really like new. It feels kind of like it's thrown in there last minute, and they don't look like up to date. They don't look like you could get enough privacy with that, which really makes you more reflect on how this school is.
There's not a lot that we can do. Like I said, because of funding, we're very restricted towards the types of labs that we get to do. I've heard from a friend of mine that gets to go to LCAP that he's taking a regular 101 chemistry class, and he's gotten to set the counter on fire. Like, that would, I mean, obviously that's not a good thing, but I mean, we couldn't even have that opportunity to experiment with types of things that would cause that reaction.
I'm not sure why the gas lines to the building for our science labs were built on the outside. So if you were to go to the front of the school and look, you could see those gas lines. They're rotting. They've been sitting outside for 50 years.
Having gas pipe with propane running on the exterior of a building is just like a bad idea in so many different ways. But that's currently what we have. So instead of allowing you guys to have the old school Bunsen burners and have the stuff, the technology that you need to learn and keep up with today's society for science, I have to shut it off. And that's really where it is.
The way our science labs look, what equipment is available? Do you get to use, like the counters, the pipes are bad and all those that infrastructure. And then you walk into your freshman bio class, and you walk in and there's a student that went to Scripps Ranch High School and then went to Torrey Pines and went to Coronado and went to Grossmont High School, who's redone all of their buildings, right? Who has passed over $1 billion in bonds in the last 20 years, right? But you go in to those classrooms and those students have all had a different experience. The fact is, you go in, and if you haven't used that equipment because your school didn't have it, you're fighting uphill still. Even though you're starting at college, you're like equal again at the same facility. You're still fighting uphill, and maybe you start to feel inadequate. And maybe you don't do as well and you struggle more. And then you start to feel like you don't belong. And then you leave and you don't stay there. And then maybe you have to move back home because it's insane to live as a young person in this community in the San Diego County, like cost-wise. But then you're up on the mountain and there's no jobs up here. There's no opportunities. And all of a sudden now you're blaming your high school, which to an extent is true, but is it because of the facilities or the people? There's those things. So it's like a deeper issue than just what is presently for you as a 17 or 18-year-old, right? Like it's deeper than that. It's this, do kids when they leave here feel adequately prepared, feel like they belong in a greater society?
No small issue that you have is small. Everything that breaks or has problems becomes hours of labor, both in this office and for the guys outside, and the money that the public has to spend on it.
We have qualified through the state for facilities hardship dollars. So the one way you can get money from the state is through a facilities hardship.
Do you think the conditions of the school affects the students and the community?
Sure. There's studies about mental health and school facilities and the effect. From a evaluation standpoint, when you are a student and you go to a school and it has these facilities issues where it's leaking or the heaters break and all of those things.
I'm Anissa Hemming. I am the director of the Center for Green Schools at the U.S. Green Building Council. The Center for Green Schools provides support and training for school district staff on issues related to green schools, like resource conservation, healthy environments, and sustainability and environmental education. We also know that small rural schools are the most disadvantaged when it comes to our funding structure for school infrastructure. They can't raise the funding from their tax base. They have limited resources to put toward campaigning for a bond.
Just the funding capacity that we have based on the amount of students that we have really dampers our ability to give you guys everything you need.
The problem that we run into is there's not enough bonding capacity in our district to actually meet what is right now the rough estimate, which is $65 million. It's not fair, it's not right, it's not equitable. And I oftentimes think that people try to boil down equity into their singular issue or their political position. And to me, it has a lot to do with poverty and power. And If you want to really solve some of these issues, you need, as a government entity or whatever else, you need to be willing to spend more on less people.
The conditions at Mountain Empire School District that the students are experiencing from an environmental health perspective, from an educational adequacy perspective, are not what any parent wants to send their child to.
The kids here don't know any different. When kids leave here for athletics and or art competitions or dance competitions or anything like that, and they see other schools, and then they come back and see their school and the condition of their school, they're prideful of this place because it is their place and there's their home, but also like, why don't we have that?
For example, like for sports, when we go like to other schools or whatever, it's like kind of embarrassing to be like, yeah, I'm from Mountain Empire, you know? And talking to people from better schools, it's like saying you're from Mountain Empire, you're kind of like, you come from not the best school, and it's like seeing all that they have, and you're like, yeah, we don't even have like vending machines or just small stuff. You're like, and they're like, wow, your school's really tiny. You don't have this, you don't have that, and it's like, yeah, we don't have any of that.
It does make me a little embarrassed of where I go to school and how it looks and how like it makes us as a school look.
The kids are kind of ashamed to go here. You just see the difference in everything else that they have and kind of what we don't.
When you do see other schools, you kind of come back and you're like, yeah, I'm from Mannix High School. It's like you kind of feel a little embarrassed.
They call us like mountain kids. They make fun of us because our school's not as good as theirs. They think less of us because of where we go to school at.
Have you seen blatant disrespect from other schools to the students?
Oh, horrible. Especially, I can remember, so we've had several rich private schools come here and urinate on our buildings because they just thought so poorly about us. We were at O'Farrell, very low economic place, and one of my shot put throwers was being called horrible things, and I mean, he didn't do anything about it, but the kids just get such a hard time for going to school out here.
I had a kid the other day say they felt like they were in prison, and I went, oh my gosh, you have no idea.
I always tell people schools are not silos within the community, they're reflections of the community. And so some of the challenges that exist within a community show up on our school campuses.
This is the most caring staff about kids, and not just the education side of it, but about kids I've ever worked with. It becomes difficult because our kids come with a lot of things from their homes.
I'll tell you one story real quick. I met this kid. His alarm clock in the morning was his mom cracking a beer open. And it didn't bother him because they were living in Boulevard, but before that they had been living in a van in OB. So he was just happy to have a roof over his head. But during high school, his mom's drinking got so bad that he moved into his car. And I don't know, just something about that story, I just felt like I was in a place that needed me.
I would love to see more involvement from community members. We've tried to do a couple different things where we're involving the community. We have people that show up for football games and things, but as far as volunteering, they're not really interested in coming here.
Are you familiar with the term getting off the mountain? Are you going to get off the mountain?
I am familiar with that. In fact, I've told my kids that exact thing. If you're here, you need to leave the mountain.
I want the kids to get out and experience the world and not just this little community.
People never forget, where you came from, and never forget what a community gave you. Go see the world, go see how you relate to it. What could you bring back if you wanted to come back?
This is for people to understand not just the culture and community here, but the worth of the students.
Yeah.
And so if there's anything you want to add into this film.
I mean, I just think that we are multicultural out here. We're good people. Don't look at us with prejudice until you get to know these kids and realize they're all good kids. They deserve everything of anybody else deserves. And I would like to see people maybe pay a little bit more attention to what is going on out here and see that these are good people.
Get off the mountain. We do need to see this world because it is so easy to get lost in a small town, and I promise you that. And just thank you for everybody that watched, and together we can rebuild Mountain Empire.